Hello, everybody. Welcome to show number 100. 100. We made it. We made it all the way to 100. Here we are on the 22nd of May, 2019, and I didn't think this day would come. I thought we'd shoot ourselves before we got this far.
Or each other.
I was going to say, why did you not think that May 22nd would come?
Comes every year, right?
Yeah, at least once.
So here we are at the century mark. Fantastic. We had a great new show title card that Mr. Russell had performed for us. Thank you very much, sir. And speaking of Russell, introduction, Mr. Russell Frost in California. How are you today, sir?
I just want to congratulate Mr. Mark Coughlin for his 100th episode, and all of you who watch and or listen, and those of you in the chat room. 100 episodes, it's you people that really put up with this crap. We actually enjoy doing it, but you idiots are the ones. You fine people are watching us every week. I can't imagine why. But thank you.
Exactly. Next, Mr. Tony Schaefer in Chicago. How are you today, sir?
Oh, hey everyone. Great. I am great. I'm in such a great mood. I can't say great enough because the weather was great today. It's the first time all year we had good weather.
Wow.
Not even really an exaggeration.
That is a lot of greats in one paragraph of speaking.
Yes. So I'm done for the show. Yeah.
That's it. You're up. Thanks, Tony. It's been great.
Next, Mr. Casey Green in South Carolina. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing quite well. Had a day, so it was good. It was good.
It was a different type of day.
It was a different day. It wasn't the 22nd.
Felt like the 21st for Casey, but we're on to the 22nd, so that's good.
There we go.
Last but certainly not least, Mr. Fusco.
Hey, everybody.
South Central.
Yeah,
Missouri.
so I had a great night last night. The Blues won the Western Conference
Whoa.
Championship. Thank you very much.
I'm
Going
sorry,
to
I think
Stanley Cup next week.
I think I misheard something. My earphones aren't working
Yeah,
correctly.
it's all that Cubs Kool-Aid you sip.
Now I have to root for the freaking Bruins now. I mean, come on.
No,
no, you don't want to
Oh.
unless you're in Boston. Nope.
No, we're celebrating big time. It's been 40 years since the Blues were in a Stanley Cup, and the last time it was against the Bruins, who are facing again, who are looking awfully tough right now. So it will be an exciting week of hockey. So.
Yeah, joking aside, all joking aside, I will watch all the games because you're exactly right. It's going to be a great series.
It is.
This is a playoff, not the Stanley Cup.
This is the
This is
Stanley
the
Cup.
Stanley Cup.
So
Yeah.
it is the Blues versus the Bruins for the Stanley Cup.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Yes.
How did we leave the entire nation of Canada out of this playoff?
Well, you managed to do that for the past 12 years. So.
So what is it, Mark? American teams, Canadian players?
Canadian players, it doesn't really
Yeah,
matter.
right.
Canada wins regardless.
Yeah. I know. There was no small amount of bitterness when you said that too. Just teeny.
Yeah, we're not quite having the weather that Tony is apparently. We are on our third day in a row of tornado watches and severe thunderstorms with flooding pretty much everywhere and tornadoes that have hit all around us. And so if I suddenly leave the show in the middle, you'll know why.
Yikes!
Yep. If Evan gets replaced by Ruby Slippers, we know what happens. Absolutely. Well, on to the news this week. No shortage of news, as always, in the world of Tesla. Our first story comes from Teslarati about a new battery thermal management software update that's been sent to the S and X cars. And this is after that Hong Kong fire investigation was underway. So apparently Tesla has determined that there is a few other things it can do with tracking the battery that's in the car as to what it's doing. And they wanted to push that out based on the investigation that was happening to that Hong Kong fire. We had shown that Hong Kong fire on our show a few weeks ago, and that was the car that was in the underground parking garage that started to smoke, and then eventually where there's smoke, there was fire. and there was some cells looked like they somewhat exploded and ran away thermally, pushing sparks out from underneath the car quite a bit. So this is in response to what they found out so far in that fire investigation, and they decided to send this out to all S's and X's to help with the monitoring of the batteries. Casey, did you hear anything extra on this particular piece of news?
I just want to add that the video was apparently doctored, but I did get the software update finally last night, and on our trip today, what sounded like the battery heater was running, but there was absolutely no reason for the heater to be running. So I'm thinking it might have just been whatever pump and fan also run when the heater goes off. Because
Okay.
Okay,
quite loud.
you can't start with the video was doctored and then tangent into something completely else.
Without explaining who said that and how, what they're.
Oh, yeah. So I thought we discussed that last time. Sorry.
Did we?
Yeah. So to go from smoke to fire on these usually takes about an hour, and this one happened over the course of 3 seconds. 10 seconds if you count from spark to smoke to fire. So it just seems unlikely that. I mean, it does look like it was a real fire. It just doesn't look like.
But has anyone proved that the video that we saw was actually tampered with?
Several video experts have said that it doesn't look like it is the original footage. Like they determined there were stretched frames and a couple other.
Okay, I'm sorry. So what these experts determined rather vaguely was that the time was compressed,
Right, and then
but
made
the
to look
vehicle
like.
did spontaneously catch on fire.
Well, and then the other part of that speculation is, did they run over something first, or was it a fault in the vehicle?
Right, but nobody's presented any evidence that any of that's happened yet.
Oh, no,
as far
because
as
it's
I
still
know.
under investigation.
Yeah,
You
that's the
can't say that-
NTSB will come out
yeah.
with that.
Well, not in Hong
not in
Kong.
Hong Kong,
Yeah.
well,
Well,
yeah.
right. That's the other story.
The Hong Kong version of it, yes.
Yeah.
So far, of cars that actually caught fire without running something over, we've had the one that was in the Nordic region where the junction block was redone by hand, and right after it supercharged or while it was supercharging, it lit up. But so far, every other Tesla fire is.
And certainly the
involved in
fire
a
could have
collision
been
of some
caused
sort.
by something else. But again, we hope to get information back from an investigation that will tell
yes.
us what
Right.
that actually is.
And
But obviously Tesla looked at the data they had, which
Yeah.
they have access to. They
Right.
record the data, and they indicated that, you know what, we should probably make a change to this software piece
Yes.
that will make the situation a little bit better for whatever reason, because of the partial investigation that they've done.
Correct.
Are there any
and-
details about what the software does? Because
None.
I mean, in my head, I'm imagining it's sensing, excessive heating, and so it turns on the battery management or battery coolant system to cool it down as fast as possible to prevent the runaway. But then does it send an alert at the same time? And
That's a good question.
I don't know.
So far,
That
I've
is
had
strange.
3 trips on it, and only one of them activated the that fan and pump that are associated with the heater. And there's been no data on it. But this was not one of the cars where Tesla had trouble getting a hold of it. Like, everybody was cooperating.
Mhm.
So whatever happened should be fixed soon.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that Tesla hasn't. Well, and maybe if it's still under investigation, they can't. But surprised they didn't come out and say we have the logs, and the logs say that the entire event took this long. This was detected instead of a spontaneous 5-second, 10-second, like you said.
Right. And then
rapid.
the other weird thing with that was that Chinese brand car, within an hour of this one hitting the internet, the Chinese brand car, same day, similar circumstances, but not underground, also lit up very quickly.
Yeah, but it's got nothing to do with the Tesla, though, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right. This just feeds into the speculation.
That same day,
had.
people shot other people, but
Yeah,
you know.
there's-
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. But
I'm sure 10,000 cars burnt that same day in China.
for
but,
sure. But these were the only 2 electric cars that made it all over the world news. That
Yeah.
They
Well,
were
we know
quick
that the
succession.
media is biased towards electric cars,
Mhm.
regardless.
That's exactly what
That's
it was.
just the way it is.
Mhm.
They report on Teslas on fire compared to other cars on fire
Oh my
much
goodness.
more often,
Tesla stopped on the
Why?
road
because Tesla is a name.
because
Taste-
Go ahead.
They believe that Tesla gets clicks. That's why they do it.
You get clicks. You get an easy punching bag because you don't have to worry about, oh my goodness, we might upset the advertisers because they don't advertise with you, and it's sensational. So sensationalism is much easier than stories about happy puppies frolicking in the field.
Yeah. Okay. Now I want to get back to the report for Tesla, who when I read this, I was relatively impressed, because when I think of a lithium pack runaway event, I think everything is going to just light up like the 4th of July. But for Tesla to say, and I quote here, we're glad everyone said, while our investigation with authorities is ongoing, we have found that only a few battery modules were affected and the majority of the battery pack is undamaged. So whatever it is they're doing to control the runaway events and make sure that if 1 or 2 cells go bad, it doesn't light up the entire pack, that's impressive.
Oh, it is. It is. And in the video, you can even see it. They've got goop in between the cells. They've got like a flame blanket. They've got flame channels, and you can actually see the smoke exiting the flame channels in the front wheel wells. And then you can see the fire exiting the flame channels. And it's very well engineered, and I feel safe with it. Although anyone listening with a Tesla, if you see a message on your screen about pull over immediately, do so and get the heck out. Usually you have another hour before it lights up, but if this was real time
no one's timing, they just want you out of the car.
Just get out of the car. Just pull over, grab your loved ones, grab anything irreplaceable, and get out.
Sounds like good news, like a good plan for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Our next story is a little bit about Gigafactory 2 in New York.
About what?
You know,
What is it?
Gigafactory 2
It's
in
not
New York.
big of anything, okay? Let's be clear. I refuse to use that.
You can refuse if you want,
nomenclature.
but I introduced the story. So
You did indeed, and I know that's why you did that, you rat bastard. This week, actually last week, Simon Alvarez at Teslarati reported that Tesla is starting production of Supercharger version 3 at the Buffalo factory. This comes.
Is it a big factory?
Not really, actually. It's not. Yeah, it's just kind of a factory.
well, it's the shell big.
It's
the
also
output big?
it's also not very crowded with people, production, or products. So, well, but I'm going to get to that. This, of course, happened the same week that that the state of New York was looking at the original deal. Tesla got about $750 million in credits and subsidies for building that factory there. Part of that deal, though, was they had to hit employment numbers. They had to hire so many people. And there has been quite a bit of discussion about whether or not Tesla's come through with its portion. And I have to say, and of course, you know, since I'm the person who plays the angry curmudgeon on the show, please let me
Plays.
yeah, let me fall back into character and go. Tesla's uniquely smoking hot bullshit response to this query is delightful. Not only Tesla's not just counting the workers at the factory, Tesla's counting all Tesla employees in the state of New York.
Mm-hmm.
This somehow counts towards what the Buffalo factory was supposed to hire. Now, maybe somebody
that's what it is in the writing of the
maybe someone in Albany
in the
wrote
contract.
the dumbest contract in the history of tax subsidies. Hey, great. You know, the only people that lose out are the people of the state of New York who pay taxes. Everybody else wins.
Maybe every job somehow tangentially relates to.
and I think some of the Nevada people made some silly mistakes with
Oh my God.
contracts as well.
You I thought you were talking
let's not forget about a Faraday Future contract that was
about
written.
you don't want to talk about the Boring Company contract that was signed today?
today. I missed that one.
Oh, yeah. That Boring Company thing went through. They're going to they're going to dig a hole in Las Vegas.
I think that's good. Okay, that's getting
No,
off
that is
Go
the
ahead. Go ahead.
dumbest thing in the
No,
planet.
no, keep going.
But anyway, I'm sorry. So back to this. The good thing is, hopefully, they'll be actually doing something at this factory. The sad part is, Panasonic's has part of the factory has actually most of the workers. They've been building solar panels. The sad part is they're selling them to other people because Tesla's not buying them, and that's a shame. But Tesla does have a few hundred people working there, and they will be building these new versions of the supercharger, and that's thumbs up. Yay.
Yeah, so a new production line is being put into Buffalo for the production of V3 supercharger components that go inside of them.
Yeah, if there was nothing in the contract that said that these people had to be employed working on solar stuff, then I say,
Well,
whatever needs to be built, just build it there, employ the people, create some jobs.
Well, I think what Russell was pointing out was that the contract indicates employment in New York State, not specifically the Buffalo Gigafactory.
I have not read the contract. I don't know, but
I'm just going by the Teslarati.
yeah,
They kind of indicate it was New York based, and Tesla has fulfilled, in fact, surpassed the number that they had on the contract.
there's again, certainly my opinion here. The New York State, the Empire State Development Company, the company that's been monitoring this whole thing, is very weird and very odd. Like, they had to do research to find out how many people Tesla/Panasonic was employing at the Buffalo factory. Well, if you're the state of New York, you know exactly how many people are working there, right?
Yeah, research is turning to your receptionist and saying, Debbie, how many people work at the Buffalo factory?
Right. You call up your state tax board and go, how many tax-paying employees do we have at this factory? It's a very, very simple question, but it took weeks for the Empire State Development Corp to figure this out. You know what? In the end, whatever. Yeah.
As long as they're actually producing stuff. It'd be nice if they were solar panels, but supercharger V3, that's nice.
Yeah.
We could use some of those.
Yeah, like I said, just employ people, build stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And just as a side note, we don't have this in our list today, but there is another story about a new V3 going in place in Texas, Wichita Falls, Texas. So that had just come out that a V3 is being installed there, in between Dallas and, my geography escapes me.
North. It's somewhere north of Dallas if it's Wichita Falls, right?
Yeah, I thought it was west, but I could be wrong. Yeah. So somewhere to the west outside of Dallas Fort Worth.
I had no idea.
Wichita Falls, Texas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
All right.
There's still not a V anything going in between me and Memphis.
It's about 150 miles north west of Dallas. It's right on the line between Texas and Oklahoma.
Okay. Very good. And Evan, how far is it to your closest supercharger?
My closest one? Oh, there's one here in Springfield. I just can't get to Memphis.
Okay.
And barely get to Little Rock. I mean, it's just, we're just a hole.
You just can't get there from here.
Can't get
At
there
least you have one. I'm in the middle of a tourist town and we don't have one. We just got our Volkswagen penalty station and it might be powered on this week. I'm gonna go check it Saturday.
That would be good. Do you have an adapter?
I have an adapter, but that doesn't help anybody with a Model 3.
No, it does not. It does not. And we wish it would, but it's not there yet.
So they have one CHAdeMO at 50 kilowatts and what appears to be 550 kilowatt CCSs. So I'm excited whenever we get our adapter for CCS.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Next, another good news story, about the autopilot engaged, according to the NTSB, for that crash that happened in Delray, Florida, a few months ago, where a Model 3, again, similar to a previous one, went under the tractor trailer's trailer and sheared the top off of the car. There was a fatality involved. The driver did not live from this. And of course, the this time, as Tony knows, the NTSB is doing an investigation, and they initially came out with just a partial statement that the investigation is underway, and they have determined that the autopilot was engaged. And with the information Tesla had, they had indicated that neither autopilot nor the driver made any avoidance contact with the steering wheel just before the crash.
The evasive maneuver, I think, was the
Right, which would be an oh shit moment. Look what's in front of me. Let me grab the wheel.
Yeah.
So that did not happen. The investigation does continue. There's no conclusions at this point, but it was indicated that they know that autopilot was engaged. It was active at the time of the crash.
Now,
It's so interesting. I mean, I think you guys that drive with autopilot find this, it's baffling to me that this happens. I mean, there must be just a couple, little buggy quirks built still in the system that, typically, like, my car brakes too often, like cars that are exiting in exit lanes that maybe they didn't quite get as much out of the way as the car would have liked. But if I were completely in control myself, I wouldn't even slow down, and the car like brakes kind of suddenly and jerks you around and stuff.
Evan, what you need to do is you need to go into the settings in the drive mode and turn off wife mode.
The invisible brake pedal.
Well, but I tell you, it's just bizarre because it just. And I've seen some videos of the situations where the car didn't notice like big trucks right in front of them, and it's really interesting. I'm just not sure what's missing from the system that's doing that. Apparently, Tesla's not sure either.
Now we've said many times that autonomous vehicles, autonomous driving, really is expected to be flawless, but really just needs to be better than humans. To be better than humans. I mean, really, it's a pretty low benchmark.
Yeah.
But how many times has someone pulled out in front of a speeding car that was doing, what they say, it was 68 something? It was
45.
Well, I don't know the speed limit. I don't think speed limit was those, but I think that it said that the dude was driving 68 miles an hour when he struck the semi trailer. So assuming that the semi pulled out in front of him, which he did, that gives a human a second, a half second to respond and slam on the brakes. And I don't know if this was a completely avoidable accident, auto driver or not. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
If a semi pulls out in front of you and you're doing 70 miles an hour on a straightaway and you're not expecting that semi to pull out in front of you, I mean, you're covering a football field every half second or more, or the Canadian football field. But, so you see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that a human would have avoided this.
So did the driver also repeat the other driver and accuse the Model 3 driver of watching TV or some shit like that?
That was not
I do
in the
not know
report.
if that's the case.
It was a bad joke. I'm sorry. So the previous time this happened, while he was running the guy over, the semi driver who failed to yield accused the Tesla driver of watching a Harry Potter
movie. I remember it now. That you referenced it, it was a joke. Like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So finally, months after the fact, the police are like, wait a minute. Well, I'm sure they saw it way before then, but they announced publicly, wait a minute. How do you know what he was watching if you're running him over? And then they found out that the DVD player was in back, under the seat, turned off, and closed. So, I mean,
yeah. But I will get more information about this. I'm sure Tesla is going to, pour through their data to figure out what the car was thinking. But I still hold to the belief that sometimes these things are just bang, bang. And if somebody pulls out in front of you, there are those situations, and we all know as mature drivers, there are some situations that you're just like, I hope this doesn't happen because there's no out.
Yep. Just today on the way back from my agenda, I had 3 semi-trucks just pull out as if I could stop. Thankfully, I could, but they didn't know that. And one of them was a left turn, like both of these incidents, and the other 2 were just, I'm bigger and I want to go faster than this other guy, so I'm going to pull out in front of you doing 20 below your speed and hope you don't run into me. And I'm
Yeah.
curious if this is the same situation with a failure to yield. I mean, the Model 3 in red in sunlight is blazingly bright, so
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how this plays out.
Well, we'll have to see where it goes investigation-wise.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. Everything in the report, it puts straight blame on the semi.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
But
It does look
but
good
we'd
as a
all still
convertible.
prefer that, that fancy neural network thing that anticipates the movement of other vehicles on the road and has been trained how to respond and when to respond, would have noticed, oh, there's a semi. Uh-oh, that semi has begun a slight movement. I may need to prepare for an evasive maneuver. I mean, that's what the neural network's supposed to do,
When
right?
it's
That's the way
activated,
it's
yeah.
designed, and it clearly none of that happened at
How
any
many?
point.
Yeah, but how many times have we seen cars creep at stoplights?
All the time.
And you can't say that the car is going to see that car creeping for no particular reason, even with no intention to go into the intersection, and your car is going to slam on the brakes because, oh, he moved a foot.
yeah, but think about it, Tony. With as a human driver, you see a semi truck at a stop sign or a T intersection, and we as humans know that once the torque goes into the rig, you see it even amp up a little bit. The
Yes.
front wheels come off the ground. It kind of lurches forward, and you can see there's power going to the. And we as humans just take that for granted. We know exactly what's going on. He's
Yeah.
pulling into the lane.
Yeah.
That's
computer
not
would-
just an advance a couple of feet at a rolling stop.
Right. And
Right.
maybe we won't slam on the brakes, but we all kind
Primer.
of subconsciously lift our foot off that accelerator and increase our level of awareness. That there's that little bit extra just in case. I mean, it's that whole situational awareness, which the car should be better at than us. It's got more eyes, it's got more sensors, it's got the ability to calculate much faster than we can as humans. And I mean, I trust my autopilot to a certain degree, but I certainly know where its limitations are, or I think I know where their limitations are. And this isn't one of the things I expect to be a limitation. This is something that I expect that it's going to see and react to better than apparently it did here.
Well, it can see it, but it doesn't know what to do with it yet. That's why it's only
Right.
currently authorized for highways. And any highway where you can turn left is not the kind of highway it's yet ready for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame, but I mean, like you said, we can see it, and so definitely 8 HD cameras should be able to see it way better than we can. It's the same situation where when somebody is cruising up through a parking lot at like maximum speed to a stop sign, and you're like, are they going to stop? And you kind of get ready to swerve and get ready to press the brakes because they look like idiots. But and sometimes they stop and sometimes they don't. I feel bad for, I believe it was Andrew that has to actually watch this video. I mean, he said he watches every crash, right?
Yep.
Mm.
Okay. Well, so we'll let you know as we get more information about this particular story because it's in motion. But that's what the news that we got an update this week. On to the next story. We talked about this last week about the Maxwell deal, the Maxwell Battery Company or supercapacitor company, depending on how you look at them. But that deal was submitted last week and it went through this week. So Maxwell is now part of Tesla. It was some stock, I guess, a stock's not a split, but a purchase. And Maxwell is now part of the Tesla fold. This article that came from Clean Technica touched on some of the points where they believe the benefits to Tesla are. And of course, it's not public yet. Nobody really knows. It's more of a piece of indicating that they believe there's probably a 10 to 20% increase in manufacturing time because of the more of a dry state battery that Maxwell makes compared to the current wet type of battery that Tesla assembles. And there's also, of course, talk about the capacitors, whether or not they're going to be used with Tesla or not. There are some applications that they talk about, but again, they're really guesses at this point. But they believe the speed of putting a battery together because of this dry status, and also the ability that these batteries will be a little bit more energy dense, will allow them to save some more money on battery packs, or give longer range, one or the other, or a combination. But that's where they believe the initial wins are for Tesla for undertaking this technology. And obviously, it's not going to happen immediately. There's going to have to be a number of different studies, and they're going to have to figure out how to put this into the manufacturing process to make these changes. But it sounds like they got what they wanted, and that's a good win for them, because they certainly went after this company.
The one thing that really I found surprising is, Maxwell does batteries and supercapacitors. And in the article here on Clean Technica, it said that it's not sure if they'll find any use for the super packs.
Right.
And I was thinking the semis, right?
Yeah.
I mean, store it up, and then, that would help a semi get up to speed much, much quicker and not drain the batteries. If you could store the energy and just burst it out on acceleration. I mean, am I wrong here, guys?
No. But they've got so many cells on the semi that they might not need that, because they can parallel it and serial it.
They're not having any trouble with acceleration anyway.
Yeah, I know that. But I was just thinking.
I think it was more of a. Someone had mentioned something about the braking of the semi, that it was be able to capture energy faster, more efficiently into a capacitor, as opposed to a battery pack that may be limiting.
Yeah, more completely.
And then blow it out in a burst, and not have to drain the long range batteries. I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah. But you're right. The Clean Technica article really thought that they might just sell that part of the company. So interesting. I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah. How easy is it to coordinate it may be a whole nother level to have supercapacitors and conventional batteries, and trying to coordinate the energy flow between the two, and where does it go when?
Absolutely.
That may be a technical hurdle.
Since we're all former Prius owners, remember the Gen 2 and up, they had that capacitor in the back for if the 12 volt went out and the HV went out, you still had brakes and steering. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I imagine that the Teslas still have some capacitors in them. And JB and Elon were both really interested in ultra capacitors for electric jets. So I don't imagine they'll just let it go without
if they have a use.
Graceful searching. Graceful searching to see if they have a use for it.
Yeah.
And at the very least, like, spin it off or something.
Mm-hmm. And they could also use it in SpaceX, if, again, depending on what level of quality and capabilities that product has.
Next story.
Maybe bring up more room to use them.
Yeah.
Interesting email that went out from Elon recently to employees that somehow got leaked to everybody. That's not supposed to happen.
Is that the first time that's happened? It's so weird that happened.
There was a security story last week about how that's supposed to have stopped, but apparently it still has not, because this letter got leaked, and this email was to all employees, indicating that Elon and the new CFO are going to be implementing what they call hardcore cost cutting over the next little while, where they're going to be examining every expense that goes through the company, trying to cut costs where it's possible and to eliminate waste. They also indicated that even though the company did receive, obviously, an influx of money through sale of EV credits, as well as another offering, stock offering, they will definitely run out of that money if they're not prudent with the money that's there. So this, of course, spun out of control in the media about Tesla's going to run out of money in 10 months, and caused the stock to a tailspin, which it hasn't recovered from yet. In fact, today there was still an issue with that. But it's interesting how this communication that was sent to employees got used in many different ways, and ultimately was part of the reason that Tesla got hurt. And I'm just wondering, is Elon shooting himself in the foot by communicating with his own employees, or is how he's communicating with employees something he shouldn't be doing any longer? Anybody on the panel got an opinion on that?
So in places I've worked, where if you let non-public public communications get out and they trace it back to you, you face full damages for that.
Okay.
And that was part of in the leaked letter about not leaking. That was part of what they talked about.
Right. But that didn't stop what happened now. Okay, someone gets fired.
No, it could be worse than getting fired. They could go after you for the damages.
How smart do you have to be to send an email to 40,000 people and think that every single one of them is going to keep confidentiality?
Well, yeah, there's
Why
that.
don't we have this happen with GM or Ford or FCA or Toyota or Nissan?
Because when people get that leaked report, they throw it away.
Well, and they don't send out stupid emails at 11:30 at night.
I didn't notice. Was it 11:30?
No, that was an older one.
Okay.
But I'm just, you know what I mean? Like there are reasons that Tesla's always in the news. And Elon,
But everything comes out in the middle of the dead cycle, so that there's nothing familiar with.
To Mark's point, these should be managed better. And information about cost-cutting measures and financial issues should be written by somebody that can write it in a temperate fashion and use all the corporate jargon that's necessary, and you can convey the message without it coming across like this did. If Elon wants to spread good news with that little personal flair that he does, that's great. But bad news, difficult news, technical news, that should be managed by somebody that is a professional at doing that. And because otherwise this happens.
Every time. It's like he's trying to scare the troops, and then it gets out, and then it scares everybody else.
it's like a behavioral pattern.
Right?
Well,
So Mark mentioned the stocks. I'm curious how much of that is this and how much of that is being blamed on this when it is the market as a whole, because we've been seeing some bloody red days at the market.
Yeah, we should do a search on that and see what the difference is, if there's a percentage difference or if it's in line. But we haven't done that analysis because, of course, we're not a stock show, nor should we be considered one. But it certainly is news of what way the Tesla stock has swung this week. And by the way, if you're going to be around the next hour, we'll be doing a segment on what drives us, which will probably touch on this topic as well.
I have no plans to initiate any Tesla buys or shares sells within the next 72 hours.
That's
Do we all have to say that now? Is that
I can't afford it. I'll have to keep what I got.
do not take this show as advice on buying or selling stocks. Never. Ever.
buy low, short high?
That's
what I'm
something
taking
like
from this. Yeah.
Well, we're going to keep moving. This was an interesting picture that was brought up recently about the Tesla map of superchargers, and this was showing a new charger that went in a little bit away from the other charger.
I think when China opened up.
And this happened in this is a map of Europe to the left and Russia to the right,
Asia to the right.
And we've got this really large distance, but a new supercharger, a 4-stall supercharger, has opened up on the outskirts or the suburbs of Moscow.
It's in front of the Trump Plaza, Moscow.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So Mexico looked like this too when it started out, and it's pretty robust now.
It is now, yes, but it's interesting that this was pushed into it's certainly a long way between the existing, but maybe it's going to be its own little, maybe it's going to be its own little area as time goes along. But right now, it just kind of looked funny that last week it was introduced as a 4-stall supercharger, and I said 4 stalls. Where would that be? And the name wasn't Moscow; it was like a suburb, which I didn't recognize. Yeah. And I was looking for it, and I was going, I don't even see it. And then this little blip showed off of the.
Was that Warsaw?
Well, the map that they're using is no longer Google Maps. They're using a different mapping, and it's almost like it's in the native language of the country. Is. So it's like it's hard to decipher. But I took that map and put it on top of a regular labeled map, and was able to determine that yes, that's a suburb of Moscow.
Well, yes, and then is it Warsaw though on the Poland side?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that's
Krakow, the most Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Casey.
If that's a version 2 installation, that's going to be 2 cabinets, and if it's a V3, then it's literally a single cabinet to service 4 stalls.
Oh, you
Okay.
mean the extra like transformer box?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about
Well, now it just comes-
780 miles to the
Yeah.
closest supercharger.
So you better drive slow.
So when Mexico deployed, it was a very similar situation. You couldn't actually access it. I mean, if you had a Tesla there and you were local, it would work, but it wasn't for another couple years before you could actually get to that branch of the network.
Right, because I mean, Putin wants somewhere to charge his car. That's what it because there's somebody or a group of somebodies with a lot of money in Moscow
With
who
Teslas.
said, "Comrade Musk, you need to put in a supercharger." And he,
Or else.
And here's a whack of money. Do it.
yes, yeah,
So it's public and on the network. It's not a private installation, right?
Correct. It's on the network. Yeah.
So
if
that's
you
exactly
can
what
get there, you can use
If you
it.
can get there, you can use it. Actually, it'd be interesting. Would that be? It would be the European standard. So I imagine there'll be two connection heads per unit. I'm
Yep.
guessing.
one.
I would imagine that Russia would be part of the European standard. It's brand new, so I don't know. I don't know if it will be follow that standard or something different.
Well, the only other option is Japan and China, and Japan is ours, so it's not going to be that. And they don't seem to like doing the Chinese one because they have to actually put a fuel door on the car. So
Yeah.
I would imagine it's going to be the European one.
Okay. Next story. Success for the Tesla Model S and 3 as they were the first EVs to ever complete the America Rally. Now, has anyone heard of the American Rally besides today?
No,
This is a rally that's been put in place by the founders of the illegal Cannonball Run. So they decided after a number of years to put in this rally that they were going to design. And basically this rally allows people to travel within, I believe it's 7 days. They have to go to about 3,500 miles over 7 days. And they go to 18 different tracks at 9 different physical locations to do a race. So they're covering 3,500 miles in 7 days. And obviously, most EVs couldn't handle that type of distance. The Model S and the Model 3 were the first that successfully completed a lap, which is that 3,500 miles over 7 days. So just kind of interesting that they brought the Model 3 because of its track mode ability. And although the car didn't win races, it did place in the upper echelons of cars that were in the race. And of course, there were points given for the distance traveled between racetracks and so forth. And it fared fairly well in the alternative fuel category. In fact, it won those. But overall, this is just kind of a success story of EVs that are now getting into other markets that previously they could never compete in.
I just want to point out that supercharger in the picture is in Louisville, Kentucky. I've used that.
Oh yes. That bakery in the background is
the brothers. Well, that's the coffee, but there's a bakery
around the other side.
Right. Yeah, it's on this side where the superchargers are.
Yeah, and the bakery is run by the school, so they're actually learning to be bakers.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, the British media.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to point out on that last story
Yep.
that the Model S did run into heating issues, and he had to come up with techniques to manage the heating so it didn't happen until the end of the race. And so whenever the larger cars can get track mode or something like it, it would be awesome.
Heating issues, the battery overheating, or the
Between the battery and the rear motor unit,
Motor.
just being out of spec, and so it throttles you, and you get to run on just the front motor, which is significantly less powerful.
Yeah.
That would be a problem in a race. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that's well documented that the Model S was not able to handle multiple laps on a racetrack because.
Oh, I did it on Tesla Track Day here in North Carolina. Not
Right.
here in South Carolina, but
right. But,
when I
but
went to North Carolina, yeah.
oh, and the other part of it was that they, of course, modified the Model 3 and S to put on racetrack pads, brake
Oh.
pads instead of the regular pads, because they even said in the story that they left the back pads, regular stock ones, on the Model 3. And after one of the races, they had melted to puddles of metallic goo because of the heat. So we've seen that before when someone was racing Laguna Seca.
Yeah, the very first one we saw.
It was like the pads were useless after the race. They were no good.
Yeah.
So you need race pads if you're going to race. Just a note.
Please make a note of it.
Make a note. Next story about the British media. The Guardian, which is a publication in Britain and surrounding, did a story about the Model 3, about its debut. Of course, here we are sitting at May 22nd. They should be arriving by ship in the next week or so to deliver to customers who had pre-ordered the Model 3. But this publication, The Guardian, had gone through the pros and cons of the car, spoke about how it compares to what is available today, and had given it a favorable response. They pointed out good and what they felt was mediocre things as well, but nothing really glaring as to problems with the car, they determined. But they had an early model to review, but certainly as more start to arrive in Britain in the next week or so, there should be more reports from British publications about how the Model 3 is. But we're certainly not expecting it to be any different than what the reports were that came from Europe when it first arrived. So the right-hand drive vehicles are about to arrive, and that's great. Another market open for Tesla as they start to deliver.
So did anyone else read this article with a British accent?
No.
Maybe I watched too much BBC.
You want to give it a try, Tony?
No, I mean, not like do it now. I mean, when you read it,
In your
because
head.
I watch a lot of BBC, and honestly, as soon as I start seeing the pound symbol and random U's thrown in words, I just slip into British accent, and the E comes before the R, not after, but, okay, just me. That's it.
Going to ask
Me?
Russell if you could maybe put up a photo.
No, not of this.
Oh, come
okay,
on.
I will. So,
God.
our friend Simon Alvarez at Teslarati this week, in fact, posted this story, which we're going to show you right now. Mark's going to present me, and then everybody can see. Look what's going on in Shanghai. There's a factory there.
What kind of factory?
It's a factory. It's a Tesla factory.
It looks rather
You
large.
didn't censor out that word.
It does look like a large Tesla factory. I will give you that. It definitely looks like a large Tesla factory.
Okay, it's more than a kilo factory. And
Would you say that it's bigger than the Nevada factory?
It's a nano factory. How's that?
Right
Look,
now, yes. Right now it is.
Interestingly enough, Mr. Alvarez uses this article to sort of take down some of Tesla's critics who have referred to Elon Musk's sci-fi projects, as you can see in the headline there. And I don't know that there were a lot of people that said that China can't build factories, even big factories, but maybe there were. I don't know. The timeline definitely was aggressive. That said, China's very good at dealing with aggressive construction projects aggressively. Now, there is one little caveat, one little thing I'm going to throw in here, and I have not been able to confirm it, but I know that when we originally talked about this project, because of the way they build this thing, they build the shell, run in the posts, right? Build the shell, and then they pour the floor. Now that floor pouring can take another 30 to 60 days.
Oh, wow.
They
I
also
have
pour the
not
roof
seen.
on this one.
I'm sorry.
They also had to pour the roof on this one.
They're pouring the roof.
Right. They had mentioned that they had to pour the roof. A couple articles.
I have not seen that, Casey Green.
Mhm.
I have not seen that. So,
In fact, in the picture, you can see there's a concrete pump on the roof.
well, your
Or
eyes
crane.
are Oh yeah. The little red one there, I guess.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So listen. The amazing thing is that this factory is as complete as it is. Right. I
Yeah.
mean, that's amazing because that is a big ass factory, and again, China is good at throwing a lot of people and a lot of equipment at something to get it done. They don't mess around. There's not a lot of dilly-dallying and lollygagging and all those other words that are fun to say. Um, but it will be interesting to see. Obviously, the next step: pouring the slab up on top and on the bottom, getting the equipment in there, and getting it set up. The good news for Tesla in a week that hasn't had a lot of good news for them is this thing's getting there. It's definitely hitting their goals. So cheers to them for that.
So
Very good.
with this, we noticed that they did the whole shell at once, but in Nevada, they did it in sections. So for Gigafactory 4 and 5, are they going to do this or are they going to do that?
I guess they're going to weigh what happens with this and
Mhm.
make their choice from there.
Okay.
I still have to think it's going to be resource dependent.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
they
Yeah.
can pull this off in China.
Oh, yeah. I don't know that you can do that anywhere else in the world.
Right.
So
I mean, is there a company that's big enough to do that? And whereas in China, the government just says, all you companies are going to now go do this. And
Right.
that's happens.
So this is the same size as Gigafactory 1 is supposed to be, but skinnier and longer, correct?
Yep.
Okay. That's impressive.
Hey, so I wanna show you guys this. So Mark, go ahead and
Thank you,
present
Tony.
me here.
There we go.
And so for the sake of
God.
scale,
Yeah.
People's there.
yeah, these are people, and I mean this is a big factory,
Mhm.
and these are people,
Lots
And-
of people.
and they're tiny compared to this. Massive.
I think we're
that's it.
getting
I mean,
into a Sesame Street episode.
yeah. I mean,
The trucks compared to the building.
yeah, I mean everything, even these cranes and these trucks you compare, and we had alluded to the like shipping and receiving.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, this thing it's just mind-boggling huge. That's it. I just every time I see these pictures,
Yeah.
it's easy to lose the concept of the scale, just the
Right.
sheer
And,
size.
and how many stories tall? I look at that right side where you can kind of see the framework.
Down here.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, if that's a person, and if that's a person that's 5.5, 6 feet tall, and they're only as big as my little magnifying glass dude here,
Mhm.
That's got to be
we're
at least 7 stories.
Gigafactory 1 is what
70
three
feet.
official stories, but
Yeah.
they're enormous.
Yeah.
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 You can kind of see a floor there on. So maybe it's just 2 levels, but man,
Mhm.
it's huge.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
yeah.
we got to keep moving. Evan, you've got a story about DIY.
Yeah, this is a quick, fun story from Electrek. Fred Lambert shared, and this is about Tesla releases new DIY or do-it-yourself maintenance instructions for the cars. And the vast majority of these are kind of silly, simple things, but probably good stuff. There's more and more people that aren't necessarily Tesla mavens and fanatics that read every little thing about the car. It has simple stuff like how to start your touchscreen, how to pair your Bluetooth phone, things like that. But interestingly, it sounds like they intend to expand on this going forward. And there's a few things that are kind of fascinating. If you get a chance to look at this story, and maybe I don't know if we can put the GIF up that's on there or not. But one of the more difficult things that they included as a DIY is how to change your cabin air filters. And there's a GIF that you watch on your screen, step-by-step instructions, shows you exactly what tools you need. It has little flashing arrows that show you where you disconnect things and reconnect things, how you pull out that filter as you are doing it, and how to insert the new one. And so it's the kind of thing that you don't necessarily have to get online and Google, which I'm sure you can find somebody that's figured this out somewhere along the line.
Sorry,
But it's built right there into your car, so you could just watch it and do it in real time.
it was animating earlier. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why it stopped.
So this
no
looks
problem.
like the quality of animations we got at my Honda trainings. So I wonder if this is what they used to train the either the techs or the salespeople.
Yeah,
and they're like,
right.
"Hey, this works. You guys can see it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really a cool step. You know, they've said that they expect to expand the DIY options moving forward, and that perhaps even some of the routine maintenance that you currently need to take your car in for, you can do on your own at home. And I think, frankly, I think it's great. I think it's great to have that support and be able to do that, because it's such a low maintenance vehicle anyway. If those handful of things don't require me to call out a ranger or to bring it in, then that's great.
Mhm.
Right. So you guys seeing the animation on the screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, it must have been I had it covered, and so it detected that it wasn't in the front. But okay,
Hmm.
so yeah,
It's a very
this
cool
is,
idea. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, no, yeah, this is great. And I just have to ask. I thought every manufacturer had some level of here's how you change a cabin filter, here's how you do these simple things.
It's not in a printed book.
Do Rolls and Bentley?
Well, I don't know about Rolls and Bentley. I mean, sure, I bet
Yeah,
their
everybody
butler
else
knows
does.
how to do it.
No, and there's information to some limited degree in the owner's manual that's online that you can look at. But this is just a little bit quicker access through your touchscreen. I need to know how to do this. You can go to one place, you can find what you want to do, you can click on it. It demonstrates it not only with words but with animations and
Mhm.
pictures. I don't know. I like it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yep, more of it would be helpful, and certainly we look forward to them adding to the library.
Very cool.
Next story, Tesla Cam saves another owner from an insurance scam. Recently, a driver was hit by a bicyclist in the back of his car while driving.
Oh, no.
Pulled over quickly, went to aid the bicyclist, but the bicyclist got up and disappeared, left the scene. Obviously not hurt, walked away. The bicycle obviously was able to roll away. The bike wasn't damaged. The human wasn't damaged. The police arrived, questioned the owner of the vehicle about where the bike driver was. And of course, he had no answer. He was gone. And the police made notes of the questioning and said that they would get back to him. The driver went home after the police let him go. And he got a call from his insurance company shortly after a couple hours. And lo and behold, the bike driver was trying to cohort money from this particular owner, because he felt that he was entitled to some money for this driver hitting him on the road, which of course the driver was able to present the Tesla Cam footage to show what actually happened on multiple sides of the vehicle, and prove his point that the bicyclist was in the wrong completely by traveling across multiple lanes of traffic to slam into the side of his car. So again, another story of how this video evidence is certainly something that everyone would love to have on their side when an incident actually does happen, and you need to prove what actually happened instead of what is being told by somebody else.
Yeah, and it's just so interesting. Not a day goes by now that at least a couple more Sentry Mode or dash cam videos from a Model 3 come out. Some of them relatively benign stuff of people bumping their door into the Tesla or whatever. But gosh, tons of break-ins, and particularly out in California and stuff.
Yeah, California, LA, San Diego, San Francisco is just. I wonder why someone owns a car there. Like it's absolutely crazy from what you see reported. Just the amount of robberies, of just smash and grabs, or smashing for no reason, or like it's crazy. I look at it and go, I'd be worried about my property all the time.
It makes you want to move to Canada, doesn't it, Mark?
I saw a
video
this week.
Hold on. Well, I'm already here. It's okay.
Mark's gonna move even farther north.
So I saw a video this week of a younger gentleman taking forever to do a smash and grab to steal what appeared to be a military bag from the back of a Model 3, and it was It was sad. I mean, it took him a lot of time to do it, and who knows what was in that bag, but it couldn't have been worth the effort. And they clearly got his plates and his face, and he kept popping open the rear door, and it didn't look like I don't know if he was hiding from the people in the parking lot or if he thought somehow that would hide the camera, which it clearly did not.
And another thing is that some of the videos that are coming out with either Century Mode or Tesla Cam, you've got weird people that are just wandering around the car.
Yeah.
There was one where this woman was in a parking lot and she's there with her dogs. I don't know why she's in a parking lot with her dogs, and she's going around the car and pressing the button on the door handle, and she's looking at it and crossing her arms. And then she goes around to the other side of the car and she goes up to it, but she doesn't touch it. And then she looks at it like you're wondering, what are these people doing? Maybe they should set up a website where kind of like the parking lot cam. We could throw up all these crazy videos that are
there's a
appearing.
Facebook page
with the subreddit as well.
That, yeah.
Yeah.
Tesla Century Mode or something.
Century Mode.
Yeah, the Reddit is
crazy people.
Tesla Cam.
Yeah, because it's.
I mean, she might have just been honestly, curiously checking it out. It might have been
shouldn't reach for the door. I mean, because it's unlocked.
Okay, I get that, but you have to admit, the first time you saw perfectly flush handles, you wanted to touch them.
I wanted to, but I didn't do it. And then they popped out, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's that car."
All right, we're going to skip the last story because we're out of time. So we'll say our goodbyes. Great show, guys. Mr. Casey Green, what have you got for us?
I promise you this weekend I will work on getting some fresh YouTube videos out there on the channel. It's Casey Green. Sorry, youtube.com/Casey Green. That's KACEYGREEN. I've got the 150 kilowatt supercharging analysis. I've got a bunch more supercharger reviews on deck, and then we've got more in the weeks to come.
Excellent. Very good. Mr. Fusco, any parting words?
Let's go Blues.
Yay, sports ball.
Very good.
Go
Very
Cordy
good.
Buck.
And we're behind you 100% here. Watching the I don't want the Bruins to win. I want to see the Blues win. Mr. Schaefer, I know you're a Boston fan now, but
Well, just thank God it's baseball season. That's all I have to say.
Oh, man.
Go Cubs. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. As usual, always great seeing the regulars, see some new names, which is always awesome. Thanks for everyone joining us for the first time. Glad you could make it.
very good.
Has
Very
anyone
good.
posted show titles? Last call.
There was one like Musk in the USSR. Was that you?
That was me.
That was you. Hypermiling my way to Moscow was Derek.
Yeah, you're gonna need to.
Mhm.
That's a good
Otherwise, I think there was Russell Frost as a jerk off. I think that
Wow.
was wait, that
was a
wasn't a
good one.
title.
That was the
That
one you
was
wrote.
just a comment.
I'm still
I thought that was on
presenting.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Very good. Russell, anything for parting words?
I just want to once again thank everybody out there for helping us get to episode 100. Thanks for following us on Twitter and Facebook and all of that. And we're going to have lots more cool stuff for you coming up soon.
Very good. Very good. Now, everyone, if you're still watching this, give us a thumbs up if you haven't already. Ring the bell so you get notified when the show happens. And for goodness sakes, if you haven't subscribed already to the show, do so now. Here's your chance. Subscribe. Give us another number. We would really appreciate it. You can also follow us through the week at our Twitter feed at The Tesla Life and on our Facebook feed, The Tesla Life #1. So please follow us on the social media links and give us a like. And of course, Russell, thank you for reminding me, Mr. Lee Moon, for providing our show music that we use every week. Thank you very much, Mr. Moon. It's well appreciated. So join us next week and find out what's happening in the Tesla life. Good night, everybody. Have a good week.